welcome to one and all, ladies and gentlemen, fellow historians. Welcome to the second in our series of talks in relation to St. Brigid as part of the lead up to the 1500th anniversary next February. The talks are taking place under the auspices of the County Kildare Federation of Local History Groups. That's the umbrella body that represents all the various history groups in the county. And they're taking place with the support of Kildare County Council through the Brigid 1500 funding. So that's we have to acknowledge our sponsors at the outset. Tonight's speaker probably doesn't need any great introduction. Most of you probably know her already. Sister Rita Minehan. It's probably fair to say probably the best known Brigidine sister in Ireland, certainly to us anyway. Chairperson of Solus Frige, that wonderful initiative over in Kildare town, following in the footsteps of St. Brigid. Sister Rita is going to speak to us tonight about the relevance of St. Brigid in today's world. So, over to you, Sister.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. And thank you, Brian, for that kind introduction. So, we're off, I think. The relevance of St. Brigid in today's world. I'm speaking to you this evening through the lens of 30 years of Brigidine ministry in Kildare town. A decision was taken in 1992 to send 2 Brigidine sisters to Kildare to set up a small Christian spirituality centre with a focus on the spiritual and cultural heritage of St. Brigid. The decision to come to Kildare was not taken out of the blue. Already, the stirrings were there that Brigid, both as goddess and saint, was emerging from the shadows of history. The second wave of the feminism movement took root in the 1970s, and Brigid's name was surfacing as a significant feminist icon. We as a congregation were being challenged to explore and develop a spirituality, a Brigidine spirituality for today's world. Before continuing to address the title of the talk, I would like to share with you in a nutshell the connection between the Brigidine sisters today and the earlier 5th century foundation of St. Brigid, which lasted possibly up to the 16th century. The congregation of St. Brigid today was founded by Bishop Daniel Delaney in Tullow, County Carlow in 1807. The Bishop of Kildare and Kilcullen resided in Tullow at that time. Ireland was slowly emerging from the oppressive penal laws which had denied men, women and children their human and religious freedom. Daniel Delaney saw the urgent need for education and responded to the challenge. He gathered 6 local women from his Sunday schools and confraternities and established the Sisters of St. Brigid to meet the educational needs of the people. Our Brigidine annals record that the bishop was not founding a new congregation, but rather restoring the order of St. Brigid to the diocese of Kildare and Kilcullen. And to show the continuity between the earlier 5th century foundation in Kildare and what was happening in Tullow in 1807, he planted an oak sapling from Kildare in the grounds in Tullow. A towering oak, 216 years later, is a link with that historic moment. Brigidine sisters have been spreading the story of St. Brigid around the world ever since. Only a few years ago, Brigidines in Australia established a trust for their schools throughout Australia. And the title of the trust is Kildare Ministries. I bring you back again now to our Brigidine presence in Kildare since 1992 and tell you how we have experienced and continue to experience the relevance of St. Brigid in today's world. To say that our eyes have been opened is an understatement. Two Brigidines, Mary Minehan and Phil O'Shea, came to live in rented accommodation in Kildare town in 1992. Unlike previous appointments, when they would have been sent to teach in a Brigidine school, they were given free rein to explore the heritage of St. Brigid in Kildare and to establish a small Christian spirituality centre to address emerging needs. The following year, 1993, was a momentous one. I mention it specifically because what happened that year was a catalyst for much of what has happened since then. AFRI, Action from Ireland, a small Dublin-based NGO working for justice, peace and sustainability, decided, in association with the Brigidine Sisters, to hold an international conference in Kildare town to mark the 10th anniversary of its St. Brigid's Peace Cross campaign. The conference had as its title, Brigid, Prophetess, Earth Woman, Peacemaker. In hindsight, a prescient title. In preparing for the conference, it was suggested that the fire of St. Brigid be relit in Kildare town to mark the opening of the conference. It is on historical record that when Gerald of Wales, in Latin Geraldus Cambrensis, visited Ireland in the 12th century, he chronicled that he visited Kildare and that the fire of St. Brigid was still burning there since Brigid's time and was being tended by nuns of St. Brigid. The fire was extinguished at the time of the Reformation, if not earlier. AFRI invited the leader of the Brigidine Sisters, Mary Teresa Cullen, to relight the fire of St. Brigid. A large bowl of fire blazed in the market square in Kildare town for the duration of the 2-day conference. It generated much interest, excitement, and curiosity. It certainly created a stir in Kildare. It was a wonderful conference with engaging international speakers addressing justice, peace, and environmental issues. And coming towards the end of the conference, people began to say, we cannot let this fire go out again. It shouldn't be extinguished again. So to make a long story very short, it was decided that the two Brigidine sisters who had just moved into Kildare town the previous year would take a spark from the fire and tend it in their small Solas Rita centre. The candle flame is still burning in Solas Rita today, 30 years later, as a beacon of hope, justice and peace for our world. That once-off conference, or so we thought, evolved into Féile Brigid, and this year we celebrated the 30th Féile Brigid in Kildare town. Also evolving from that first conference was the emergence of Cord of Rita, Friends of Brigid, a small, active and creative group of women and men who work in association with Solas Rita to promote the spiritual and cultural heritage of St. Brigid of Kildare. From 1993 onwards, pilgrims and visitors began arriving at the door of Solas Rita, all wanting to find out more about St. Brigid and her legacy. Many coming to see the flame and to sit with it. The relighting of the flame caught the imagination of people worldwide. It touched into something very deep in the collective psyche. Candles being lit from the flame in Solas Rita today, they are finding homes all across the world. The sisters quickly outgrew the space they were in Dara Park. The new Solas Rita Centre was officially opened in 2015. And the vision of the new centre is to unfold the legacy of St. Brigid and its relevance for our world today. We quickly realised that the geographical spread of the cult of St. Brigid was quite extraordinary. The late Dr. Margaret McCurtain gave one of the annual Celtic lectures on St. Brigid as a woman for our time in Kildare Education Centre in 2010. She spoke of how the cult of St. Brigid had spread throughout the world, going out from Ireland in different waves down through the ages. The monks and scholars leaving Ireland from the 6th century onwards carried the story of St. Brigid and devotion to her to England, Scotland, Wales, and further afield. Churches dedicated to her, holy wells, place names, relics, stained glass depictions of her, early Irish manuscripts, liturgical texts dedicated to her can still be found in churches and libraries in Europe. The wild geese displayed a Brigid's cross on their banners when setting sail for continental Europe in the 17th and 18th centuries. And from the 17th century onwards, missionaries and migrants carried Brigid's story and spirit with them to the Americas, Australia, Africa, and the wider world. Professor Yvonne Seal, a medieval historian, gave a talk on Brigid Abroad in Solis Rita in 2016. She spoke about how a female saint from the Irish Midlands was known from Iceland to Italy in the Middle Ages. She stated that St. Brigid was far better known than St. Patrick in continental Europe. And she shared, from her research, she shared some very interesting maps with us for private circulation, and you're going to see them now. Brigid in Europe, they're dotted there, and then you can just move it gently in the different countries. Yeah. Yes, Brigid in England and Wales, the places associated with her. Brigid in Brittany, France, in the Low Countries, in German-speaking areas, Italy, and in Scandinavia. These are maps she had come up with from her research on Brigid. She did her master's in St. Andrews in Scotland, and now her doctorate in Iowa University, and is now lecturing in the Upper State, New York, as a professor of history. So, and it's a past pupil. So that's how I got those out, wrangled those out of her. So that tells you, it just gives you an idea of the spread. And as she said, they're not all there. And we know that. So excellent research has been done on the geographical spread of the cult of St. Brigid by historian Dr. Noel Kissan, and can be found in his book, I'm sure many of you may have read it, St. Brigid of Kildare, Life, Legend, Cult. And he suggests that the association of St. Brigid with a pre-Christian goddess named Brigid may have boosted her popularity and given her a competitive edge over the other early Irish saints. Trace elements of Brigid as goddess and saint are worldwide. We can testify to the validity of all that research, and I think we could even enlarge on the spread of the cult of St. Brigid through some of the contacts and connections we have made over the past 30 years. The visitors and pilgrims coming to Kildare today from all over the world attest to the legacy and relevance of St. Brigid in so many ways. They come to Solis Rita for a myriad of reasons. It may be because someone in their family was or is named Brigid. Some may belong to a Brigid's parish, school, hospital, or other institution. Justice and peace groups come, interested in social and ecological justice, to find out more about this St. Brigid, who was known in early Ireland as the Flame of Justice. Students come yearly from the US colleges and universities, where they have Celtic studies and international development departments. Goddess groups visit us, many interfaith groups come to Solas Rita, Brigid is not just a Catholic saint. She is pre-Reformation to all Christian traditions honour her. In a few weeks' time, we will have a group from Colorado, led by a Baptist pastor. It will be his 26th pilgrimage to Kildare and Solas Rita, with pilgrims of mixed faith traditions. We have contact with a women's group in Scandinavia, a women's group mainly Lutheran women, who call themselves the Sisters of Brigid, Brigid's sister. Founded in 1984, and now with the membership of over 2,000 members, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, Iceland, and the most recent lodge they founded was in Germany. And they model their lives on the values of St. Brigid of Kildare. I thought they were getting confused that it was Brigid of Sweden. No, they didn't want anything to do with Brigid of Sweden. It was Brigid of Kildare they were following. Most interesting group, and they have come and they keep coming to Kildare. Many come seeking spiritual nourishment for life's journey, many searching for a spirituality that is inclusive of all creation. From the early lives, from the Irish annals, and from genealogical sources, we can glean a picture of a historical woman. Her origins, her values, her position in society, and that of her monastery for women and men in Kildare in the 5th century. There are many customs and traditions associated with St. Brigid that continue to keep her memory alive. If anything, they are increasing in strength and popularity, such as the Brigid's Cross, Brat Brida, the Chris, and the Bridog. Folkloric sources abound in relation to Brigid and are of great interest to pilgrims and visitors. In 1942, the Irish Folklore Commission carried out a comprehensive survey throughout Ireland, entirely devoted to St. Brigid. The findings of the survey were so successful that the director, Dr. James Delargy, commented, and I quote, "There are very few districts where some tradition of the saint or feast does not linger. A fact not to be wondered at when one considers how strongly her personality imprinted itself on the imagination of our ancestors and how important the festival was as marking the commencement of spring and the awakening of nature." Aspects of Brigid's life are appealing to contemporary society. She has left an inspiring legacy through the values she stood for in her day. Her life continues to speak to some of the major issues that confront and challenge us in our world today, and that continues to keep her relevant. She is remembered through the ages as a spiritual leader, a woman of the land, an advocate for the poor, a peacemaker, and above all, a woman of legendary hospitality. Values relevant today, for our world today. She blazed a trail for female leadership in 5th century Ireland and is remembered as founder and patron of a powerful and influential church and monastery in Kildare. We can still hear a female voice coming from an overwhelmingly patriarchal and hierarchical world. She broke through the gendered norms of the time to withstand pressure from her father and brothers who had their eyes on her price as a bride. She is a source of inspiration and a model for many women and men today in their efforts to promote the equal dignity of women and men in church and society. Cogitosus, in his Vita Brigide, states that Brigid and Conleth governed their church by means of a mutually happy alliance. Ty Caton, who many, God rest him, who many of you knew probably, would say she brought Conleth over from Old Connell in Newbridge to look after the male section of the monastery. But there was never any doubt as to who was in charge in Kildare. Throughout history, Brigid is remembered as a woman with a close connection to the land. Her feast day on February the 1st, also Imbolc time in the Northern Hemisphere, is associated with the beginning of the agricultural year and food production. Those concerned about the environment and the future of the planet draw inspiration from the reverence and respect which she and our Celtic ancestors had for the elements: earth, air, fire, water. They knew intuitively what the scientists are telling us in more recent decades, telling us about the interconnectedness and the interdependence of all creation. We find common ground with the groups who come to Celis Rita today when we share collective concern for planet Earth and the need to care for our common home. Sources tell of her affinity with animals and of how they often came to her assistance when she found herself in difficult situations. Those stories endear her to many animal lovers today. In the early lives, there is an interweaving of the myths and legends with the Christian story. It's most extraordinary that, when Cogitatus was writing that, there's an interweaving of the myths and the legends with the Christian story. They are very powerful carriers of meaning. At an earlier age, I would have been dismissive of myths and legends. I like historical facts, and I still do. But now I appreciate that myths and legends do not have to be true to tell us truths about ourselves and our world. They have a symbolic significance that is often more powerful and effective than mere historical fact. The legends and stories associated with St. Brigid are being retold today as parables for our time. They can sometimes catch the heart, and as I'm going to quote Seamus Heaney in his poem Postscripts, I'm borrowing those words, they can catch the heart off guard and blow it open. And we see that, the transformative effect those stories can have. Of all the values associated with Brigid, her outreach to the poor and needy of our time is a remarkable legacy. No fewer than 23 of the 32 chapters of the Vita Brigida have to do with her compassion and concern for the poor people of her time. She has always been concerned with those on the margins of society. And there's one legend, just very briefly, it's one day she was out on her ministry and she was weary and got tired and sat down to rest. And we're told that a rich lady in the area who had an orchard went to her orchard and got a basket of apples and brought them to Brigid. And no sooner had she done so, they were told a very poor, hungry, dishevelled family came by. And of course they saw the apples and begged Brigid for the apples. And without hesitation, Brigid gave them the apples. But the rich lady, the wealthy lady, got very annoyed with Brigid and said, I brought those for you, not for them. And the reply attributed to Brigid was, well, she said, what is mine is theirs. What is mine is theirs. A legend that challenges the ownership of the fruits of the earth and the 80-20 divide in our world, those concerned with issues of injustice and the unequal distribution of the world's resources draw inspiration from her words and her actions into relation to social, economic and environmental justice. A sense of compassion impelled Brigid to share. What is mine is theirs. Many groups today working for peace and disarmament draw inspiration from the legend of Brigid giving away her father's dual sword to a poor family so that it could be bartered for food. A sword, a weapon of war, in Brigid's hands becomes a life-giving instrument. In a world awash with weapons, this legend challenges us as long as warfare endures in our world, hers is a story for all time, not least her opposition to war and her fame as a peacemaker. And this was the inspiration for the Pause for Peace, which I'll tell you about in a few minutes' time. Brigid has been renowned for her hospitality and her generosity through the centuries. She was extravagant in her giving to all who came to her door, generous to a fault, often got her into trouble with her community and at home before she became a religious. All were welcome, we're told, at Brigid's door. There are many stories of her reaching out to the stranger. Today, we are witnessing the worst migration crisis in history, as people are fleeing war, poverty, persecution, climate devastation. Brigid can continue to be a source of inspiration and challenge all to open hearts, doors and borders to those seeking refuge and sanctuary in our world today. In the early life of Brigid, written by Cogitosis, he records that Kildare is the safest city of refuge in the whole land of the Irish. So that's some commendation for Kildare, the safest city of refuge in the whole land of the Irish. I would like to share with you, just last week we had this wonderful talk from Dr. Niamh Wycherley, and I would like to share with you a few points she made when she was interviewed by Owen Beattie on Kildare FM on Brigid's Day 2021. And she gave some reasons why she thought Brigid was so popular today. She said, there are very few historical facts about her, and that leaves her malleable. She has meant different things to different people down through the ages. She resonates with people. She has been reinvented and rebranded through time, ever since the first poem written about her in the 7th century. And Niamh goes on to say, not a bad thing. Everyone has his or her own hot take on Brigid. It keeps her relevant. She is a saint for all people. Nothing static about Brigid. She has stood the test of time and will remain centre stage. Brigid is certainly centre stage in Ireland with the new national holiday, which commenced in 2023. It has generated great interest and excitement, not just in Ireland, but around the world. The new national holiday models the equal dignity of women and men at national level. Brigid now stands shoulder to shoulder with St. Patrick. It gives recognition to the spiritual, cultural, and historical importance of St. Brigid. And now, I want to tell you a little bit about, I mentioned peace already, but just to say again, I would tell you a little bit about the Pause for Peace movement. St. Brigid and the abbesses of Kildare, who succeeded her, were renowned as peacemakers in early medieval Ireland. Clan feuds were commonplace, and Brigid was often called on, we're told, to mediate between rival factions to bring healing and reconciliation. And actually, it's on record, and Dr. Wycherley mentioned that the last night, that the abbesses who succeeded her were known as women who could turn back the streams of war. In that context, and to mark the new national holiday in her honour, Solas Rita, in association with Into Kildare, Kildare Tourism Board, launched a global Pause for Peace movement on the 12th of January 2023, this year. The Pause for Peace movement sees the residents of County Kildare calling on people all around the world to stop for 1 minute's reflection, silence, for peace at 12 o'clock local time on St. Brigid's Day. It is a rolling pause for peace, a wave of peace commencing in New Zealand and moving seamlessly through continents and islands at 12 o'clock local time, no matter where you are in the world, on St. Brigid's Day each year. The launch took place on the 12th of January, And that was in Rita there. You can see we had the local children involved. The mayor, if you can see him there, is hidden, I think, behind some of the doves of peace. And the head of Kildare is there, or the CEO of Kildare is there as well. So again, the students from the local Kildare Town Community School, they were designated as ambassadors for peace going forward, fifth-year students in Kildare Town Community School. So, you see who we have here. We were taken, I can tell you, surely by surprise, and so we're into Kildare and delighted to welcome the Taoiseach, Leo Varadkar, to Rita on the 27th of January this year to show the government's support for the Pause for Peace initiative. And you'll be delighted to hear they observed it in the Dáil and Shannon and in many other places. And that afternoon, he learned how to make some Brigid's crosses, and with Minister Hayden as well, and Marie Williams, the MEP, they all got down and got their lesson on how to make St. Brigid's crosses before moving on. So that was a tremendous honour to get that recognition and confirmation. But that just wasn't all of it. The President of Ireland, Michael D. Higgins, in a letter to Kildare, when they told him about it, stated, "Your efforts to bring together communities from across the globe to promote peace and harmony in the name of Nave Brigid is truly admirable. Mar Uachtarán na hÉireann, may I thank you for this initiative, which constitutes a form of active global citizenship at its best." This new Pause for Peace movement is a unique event which breaks new ground in recognising the cultural and historical importance of St. Brigid beyond borders and aims to form a spirit of global solidarity and peace in societies all over the globe. End of quote. What else could you want? So embassies, we're told, and consulates from overseas were asked to promote the Pause for Peace. It was amazing how much support it got within and outside Ireland with such a short time frame. This was the 27th of January, to promote it by 1st of February. Ireland AM, Derek, was in Rita at 7 a.m. on Brigid's morning to promote it, by which time footage had arrived from New Zealand of people who had observed the Pause for Peace. They were 12 hours ahead of us. So this movement has great potential if the people of Kildare own it and promote it going forward. No doubt St. Brigid's Day and weekend will be celebrated in myriad ways. If the Pause for Peace takes hold in our world, it would give a spiritual underpinning to the national holiday and further promote the legacy and relevance of St. Brigid of Kildare throughout the world. St. Patrick has his parades. St. Brigid will have a Pause for Peace to mark her day. 6 years ago, the Department of Foreign Affairs marked St. Brigid's Day in the Irish Embassy in London by giving recognition to and celebrating the talents, creativity and leadership of Irish women. Almost all the embassies and consulates are now marking St. Brigid's Day. And only last week, I had a pilgrim in Kildare and she said, "Oh, I celebrated it in Zambia." And I said, "How did you celebrate it?" "Oh," she said, "the ambassador over there invited us, because being from Ireland, to celebrate it in the embassy in Zambia." So it's moving already. And that brings us to where we are and why you're sitting where you're sitting tonight, is to Brigid 1500 and the logo for our celebration on the cusp of this year. And Kildare, as you know, have established a Brigid 1500 committee, and the rest would be history, hopefully. Inquiries about the events and all that are growing apace. Already, we know people in Alsace, and you'll be hearing maybe more about them, Strasbourg, are marking the 1500th anniversary this year. They're marking it in France. An email during the week from a Lutheran bishop in Sweden states They plan to mark it in 2025. So this celebration is going to go on for a long time. There will be local, national and international events to mark the anniversary. And to conclude, and sorry about the mic, I'm sure it's very annoying, but we did our best. To conclude, Victor Hugo has a quote which says, "Nothing is as powerful as an idea whose time has come." St. Brigid's time has come again. She fed the spirits of the people of Ireland in the 5th century. She continues to feed the spirits of people in increasing numbers throughout the world today. She continues to cross divides, build bridges, and foster unity in our midst. All who need it can find shelter under Brigid's cloak. Her life and legacy and its continued unfolding has much to offer in terms of its transformative capacity to help create a more peaceful, equitable and sustainable world. And I will conclude with the old Irish invocation, Fiv Rat Rita Shinna Galéir. May we all be protected under the cloak of St. Brigid of Brigid. Thank you. Carmela Margaret.
Thank you very much, Sister Rita, for that wonderful, heartfelt talk. I think we can all recognise that Sister Rita was speaking from the heart and speaking in the spirit of St. Bridget. I'd like to throw it open to the floor now if anybody has any questions for Sister Rita or any comments on the subject of the relevance of St. Bridget in today's world.
I need to pause somebody there. Liz.
I want to thank Sister Rita for a wonderful talk. And it's just great to hear all about St. Bridget. I just have one worry, and I don't want to cast a negative thing on the evening.
Yeah.
I'm worried that St. Bridget's Day might degenerate into what St. Patrick's Day now is. I don't think St. Bridget's Day will go that way, but I just wonder, do you have any ideas to keep it a bit more in line with St. Bridget?
I don't need the mic to say. That was the whole idea behind the Pause for Peace. You know, we got together because we didn't want another St. Patrick's Day, a boozy day. I mean, parades are wonderful and all that, and we appreciate them, but we wanted something different for Brigid's Day. And that's why we came up with the Pause for Peace, to give it a kind of a spiritual underpinning around the world. And, you know, people will go and celebrate it whatever they will, and they have every right to. But if we could only get that in and get that way, and we were amazed at the people already and the countries already. But I think it's up to us, the people of Kildare now, the residents, to promote this. And it's going to get bigger and bigger as we go forward. And we're just going to have a committee meeting about it in the next week or two to see how we can spread the word even more. So I would hope that people will be coming to Kildare years and years' time and say, isn't that the place that they have the peace and Pause for Peace? That would be our hope and our dream. Thanks, Liz. Thank you. Yes?
How do you think St. Bridget should be made relevant to the younger generation? We seem to be, it's the older people that seem to remember her the most.
Yeah.
How did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the younger generation appreciating Bridget and all she had to say and do.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think our schools and everywhere when we were taught about Bridget and the stories we were told about her and all the rest. Now it is on the curriculum as far as I know, and there will be more and more modules, in schools to promote her. But already I know Bridget 1500 have resources sent out to all the schools in Kildare and further afield. They said they got numerous inquiries as well. So I think that can grow and grow. And I know they are preparing modules for schools and primary and secondary schools going forward. So I would hope I know we've lost out, but I think this whole national holiday and now the Brigid 1500, it's an ideal time to really put a push on again. And if we had a few more people like Dr. Niamh Wycherley and all the rest around the country, I think it would quickly, take hold again, that interest in her. I don't know if that answers your question, but
That's right. I
just-
was just wondering.
yeah. Would you have any ideas yourself
I thought she would be projected more as a leader as well.
as a leader?
Great
Yeah.
leader
Oh, yeah, powerful leader. Yeah,
of spirituality and a leader
Yeah.
of hospitality and humility as well.
humility. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that would be
Young people as well.
leaders.
Yeah,
There's a huge
Yeah.
shortage of good leaders.
I know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Phil.
Just maybe Rita, just to answer the question, Rita.
Yeah, right.
No, we say the young people who are the care of the earth that Brigid stood for.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of young people who are into justice issues, and they identify that maybe not so much people in Ireland, but the young people who do come.
Oh, yeah, a lot of groups from overseas, a lot of young varsity groups, as they call themselves, university groups, and they're all into landscape and all in, they just appreciate so much of what we take for granted here, of what Ireland or what our country has to offer in terms of its landscape and its history, its spiritual and cultural history. And they get great sustenance from it. And they keep returning every year at the universities. They bring their students back to get this. And they maybe start in Glendalough, come on to Kildare, then on to Clonfert, on to Clonmacnoise, over to the west, a lot of them climb Croagh Patrick. And these are all young American students, mainly America. It's amazing. Mostly American, I would say, Phil. So it's there, but it's slow. It's probably percolating through. Yeah.
Thanks once again, Sister Rita, for a truly heartwarming and inspiring talk.
Thank you.
And
so
thank
much.
you very much for
Thank
that. So, as I said, this is the second in our series of talks. Our next one will be at a slightly different time. It will be on Saturday morning, Saturday the 14th of October, at 10 a.m. here in the Heritage Centre, and it will be followed by the AGM and seminar of the Federation of Kildare History Groups. But the talk, which will be given by Owen Corrie under the intriguing title of the St. Brigid Code, that will take place. That will be the first item, and that's obviously open to the public, open to everybody. Finally, I think our hostess, Nessa, has some tea outside for us. So I think Sister Rita's staying around for a cup of tea.
Yes.
Thank you very much for that.